How a cheater sabotaged a 500-player Pokemon tournament. We have another banger full swipe gaming video here, so let's have a look and see what we got.
And then there's what this player did. They were talented, successful, and beloved, and they wound up going to extreme
and they threw it all away. Oh my god, Charizard, are you alright, mate?
to rig and sabotage a major tournament of over 500 players.
Oh my god, even Blunder was in it. Yeah, I know Blunder. He's a lovely guy.
Biggest cheating scandal ever, with the most offenses ever committed in any Pokemon tournament, VGC or singles. Offenses ranging from match fixing to playing on an alternate account. We're going to explore.
Okay. All right. I feel like, listen, I'm not a really big, Smogon person. If you don't know, by the way, Smogon is an unofficial Pokemon set of rules built up by the community that is mostly based around singles. And they have a website called Pokemon Showdown where you can battle, you can have all these different sets of rules. It's brilliant. It's been around for so long. And people really used it as like the main way to play Pokemon competitively for the longest time. Now VGC is making a bit of a comeback, and that's mostly doubles. But Smogon is like the big singles way to play. So this is the main competitive format for almost everyone that wants to play the 1 versus 1 format.
For the tournament, that was the site of the cheating.
I was going to say, sorry. I was explaining it. I totally forgot to say, match fixing, yeah, terrible, awful. I get that. That makes sense to me. Playing on an alternate account, I feel like that's not as bad as match fixing, but honestly, I really don't know what the situation is. We're going to have to figure that out.
As well as the general online tournament culture, then look at who the player was, the mysterious way the tournament unfolded, the chaos that exploded in the wake of the cheating allegations.
Oh, I love a good whodunit.
And of course, the how and why of the cheating itself. Our story begins with the...
Oh yeah, they used the Death Note, obviously. Oh, that makes sense now. Your opponent can't play you in a Pokemon battle if they've, died of a heart attack because they put them in Death Note.
Tournament itself. The official Smogon tournament, or OST.
The original soundtrack.
OST was the first and remains the most defining individual tournament on Smogon.
Wow, this is, see how long this has been around though. 2007, 2009. Like this was the main shebang.
And has been...
Oh my god, I didn't realize you can like and dislike and comment on a video from like the full screen now. That's interesting. YouTube must have made this change pretty recently.
Since the site was founded over 2 decades ago.
2004, that was when like Ruby, Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green... That's so long.
The format is simple. There are open signups for a single elimination tournament of standard play.
If you don't know what OU is, sorry, I feel like I might be over-explaining here, but OU is the overused tier of Smogon. This is the tier where you'll find most Pokemon. There are tiers above it where the legendaries will kind of chill out, and there are a lot of tiers below it for Pokemon that aren't used as often because it's mainly based off of usage statistics and not really particularly the power, but I guess if you have a powerful Pokemon, it's used more and then it's put in the overused tier. But yeah, overused is like, I would say overused is the most popular way of playing.
Also known as the current generation of OU. It featured some of the best, most intense gameplay in competitive Pokemon history, and as it tends to be the case with any tournament, it had its fair share of controversy, but those usually revolved around luck, or so-called undeserved wins. The usual. The only time cheating ever really happened was in the form of ghosting, or telling someone else what to do in their battle, except this only really occurred in teams tournaments where players draft teams of players to collectively try to win. The reason OST, like Smogon's other individual tournaments, generally saw less cheating was because there was less incentive. If multiple people cheat to win a team tournament, they all share the win. In an individual tournament, you don't get to share in the win. This is not to say such things didn't happen, but nowhere near the scale of the team tournaments. Since being seen as the best was such a point of pride.
And this is an actual result of a Smogon tournament. You can see it's pretty big, and it's not actually. Can you imagine? Oh my god. I'm glad that VGC is getting more popular because it means we're getting at like bigger tournaments and more impressive things. I know esports is like kind of dead, let's be honest. It's not really a big thing. It's a massive money sink for most companies. You can't really have massive tournaments on the scale of like most actual physical sports. But I mean, it would be cool if you could. Could you imagine esports selling out massive arenas in the way that football or rugby or American football, basketball, or anything like that does? That'd be insane.
The players...
I'd love to see it one day. I feel like it is getting more and more popular, but there's just something about it that the vibes just don't line up yet. The vibes just aren't right.
Winning these tournaments wouldn't want their accomplishment tainted by whispers they had gotten there by cheating. Well, until 2015. The official Smogon Tournament's 11th edition saw the most outrageous cheating scandal in competitive Pokemon history. Everything that came before is positively tame in comparison.
Okay, so 2015 was around about when Oras came out, which that's 11 years ago now, man. What's going on? 11. I remember when Oras came out. I was uploading YouTube. I was doing the same thing I'm doing now. I was uploading Nuzlocke on it. Crikey. It's been 11 years.
And a decade later, nothing has matched it, which really is impossible to imagine. OST Gate, as it was named, was a case of such corruption, many wondered if online competitive Pokemon could ever be taken seriously again. And beyond that, many wondered just what would drive someone to cheat this much in the first place. It's at this point our story begins with the introduction of our main character, Blue.
Oh, I love Blue from Foster's Home of Imaginary Friends as well. I can't imagine him. After the show ended, I guess he just didn't really know what to do. His life took a turn downhill.
No, not blue as in the color, but blue as in Blue Regard Q Kazoo from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Blue joined the competitive scene in Generation 4, quickly becoming established as knowledgeable about the game, an excellent contributor, a well-liked community presence, and even a trustworthy authority figure, rising through the ranks to influential positions of power, most notably tournament director, and the highest moderator position on the site, administrator. Blue didn't have much impact as a tournament player though, but that changed in Gen 5 where Blue, having improved immensely in the shadows, came seemingly out of nowhere to win the Smogon Frontier, a prestigious individual tournament designated official, meaning you earned a trophy on your profile if you won. Official tournaments were the kind—
Oh, you know, back in the days of forums, that went so hard. Oh my god. I don't know if there's many of you around that used to use a lot of forums back in the day, but like if you had something on your forum profile that was different to everyone else's, oh my god, you'd feel so sick. You'd be posting around like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I got that on my profile. Pretty sick, isn't it? Prison tea.
that were taken
Prison tea? What the hell's that?
the most seriously by the best players, and Frontier took it a step further with its gauntlet-style challenge format, so difficult that for some time it was considered unbeatable, or close to it, since you had to beat over 10 of the best players on the site in current generation OU, with a maximum 2 losses allowed. Winning Frontier meant automatic establishment as a top player.
That's so cool, though. It's like having your own Elite Four, except it's like the triple Elite Four, and you can only lose twice. That's really sick.
But Blue didn't stop there, continuing to put up elite performances in the biggest tournaments for the rest of the generation. And then Generation 6 came around. In XY, Blue really elevated in both skill and reputation, becoming not just a top player, but a contender for the top player. Unquestionably one of the 2 single best players around, alongside Blue's friend and rival McMegan. They were head and shoulders among even the other best players of the time. Blue was so highly regarded, they became the most expensive player by far in the Smogon Premier League, one of the team tournaments previously alluded to.
Oh my god, you could draft team players, but like the actual people who will play Pokemon with you? Oh my god, I didn't even know this existed. I can't imagine. Yeah, hey guys, who wants to draft me? I only cost like 5 points. I'm pretty cheap. I will not see through illusion, even once.
Where managers bid theoretical credits to draft a team together. Blue cost 40k of the 140k budget allotted to every team.
Damn! Blue costs like, okay, 40k of 140,000. That's like, what, a third? Around about a third-ish? Just below? That's a lot.
The next most expensive player in the tier, longtime tournament veteran, 6A9 Ace Matador, cost 23,000.
It costs almost twice as much as the second best player. What is this, like Wolfie's alt account? Well, no, probably not. Considering what is probably going to happen.
Beyond being admired for skill, Blue was popular among the community for being polite, intelligent, and well-spoken. Not traits the average competitive player is known for, as well as even flashing an occasional mischievous sense of humor. In competitive Pokemon terms, Blue had it all. However, there were a few things. 1, while Blue was unquestionably a top 2 player of the time, Blue was also unquestionably the number 2 to McMegan's number 1. 2, Blue aimed for a feat that was incredibly rare at the time, and remains incredibly impressive even today, a second individual trophy win. Frontier was an incredible achievement, but Blue wanted more. Smogon Tour, which consisted of the 3 most recent generations of OU, was considered by many to be the best individual tournament on the site, and it was the one Blue eyed most fervently, coming close with a couple of semifinals appearances, but unable to make it further. 3, while Blue was considered the second best player of the time, many still considered older players of the Generation 4 era, namely Earthworm and Goki, among some others.
Earthworm and Goki. I love it when you have these really serious analyses of tournaments, but they all have online names. It's not like, ah, yes, Kevin Durant and LeBron James. It's like, ah, yes, Earthworm. One of the premier players of our time who will be written in the history books.
Others to be the best of all time. In Blue's own words from a public interview,
My reasons for playing Pokemon have evolved a lot throughout the years. Right now though, my main reason for playing is to be known as a person people refer to as the best player of my era. Even though there will always be debates regarding who the best player of a certain era was, you usually see similarities in the responses people give. For example, when people discuss 4th generation players, I rarely see anyone mention someone other than Earthworm as the first best player of his era.
Earthworm was undoubtedly the greatest Sinnoh enjoyer of all time.
With others usually being mentioned second.
The full response is much longer, but it was also the polite public answer, going on to mention appreciation, not wanting to sound selfish, being a highly competitive person, and so on. Those who knew
Wait, why is they're showing Homelander? He's showing a Homelander.
Not wanting to sound selfish, being a
yes, he's polite in public. Seems like a nice guy, but under the surface, he's really an evil Superman.
highly competitive person, and so on. Those who knew Blue in private were familiar with the more openly disdainful version, with clear resentment towards those who rated the players of the past more highly. Also notable in this response was the following.
Sometimes I wish I was under the radar like I was when I first started playing tournaments, because people don't know what to expect from you, which isn't the case for me anymore.
Not long after this interview, it was early January 2015.
Come on, we can't be big-headed about being a, good Smogon player. Surely that's... Okay, Smogon is like a very small subset of an already small amount of people that are concerned about competitive Pokemon. You have like a very small subset of people who want to play specifically the unofficial Smogon singles format, and then a smaller subset that know about the really specific tournaments that go on within that, which, I played a lot of Smogon. I was playing like... I was playing Pokemon Showdown. I was playing like random battles. I would play some OU sometimes. I'd get involved in that kind of stuff. I didn't even know they did tournaments on there. So it's like a really small subset of people. It can't be more than I would assume like a couple thousand people, surely, right?
When Blue took a tough...
But I guess when you do something that is incredibly difficult, it's natural to want to be known. It's natural to want to be like acknowledged as someone who is really good at that thing.
Luck influenced loss in the later rounds of the playoffs of the official ladder tournament, coming up short for another trophy, and that appeared to be a sort of last straw, with Blue now looking to be stepping back from playing as seriously. Deflated by the obnoxious tournament community as much as the game itself, Blue chose not to play in the official Smogon tournament that was starting up, instead focusing on tournament director duties by generating some of the tournament's pairing as a neutral, non-participating party. Thus, Blue was off to the side when the year's first real dose of tournament drama started rolling in.
Uh-oh, drama! I love how Blue has been edited into like so many different things here. This is sick. The editor for this is fantastic.
In round 2 of OST, Crash and Boom Bang, or CBB, another top player and close friend of Blue's, lost. Losing is one thing in a game like Pokemon where anything can happen, making upsets relatively common, but what made it so notorious was the way he lost. Not only did he lose to a completely new player nobody had heard of named Style, he got utterly demolished, losing the best of 3 in 2 games, including one losing 6-0 to a Hidden Power Fire Manaphy that simply led off and swept.
Damn, that hurts. That is tough. I feel like you should always have an answer for, I don't know, this is tough though. Because I've been in situations when I just get swept immediately. I think Dylan and Luke have done this to me several times. They'll just set up immediately. I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do. I guess you can't prepare for every possible scenario,
Previously,
right?
Hidden Power Fire Manaphy was a non-existent set. This was hardly someone counter-teaming CBB's usual style either, because he was notorious for using fast-paced offensive teams and had chosen to mix it up with the defensive squad.
Oh, that's tough. Just to lose like that? Oh, that hurts.
Instead, the odds of this coming together so seamlessly in this particular game was quite extraordinary, but it wouldn't have amounted to anything more than a week's gossip had it not been for what happened again and again. In round 3, Style faced off against another experienced player, Blue Wing, and once again won in 2 games, with another effortless sweep with a set that was even more obscure, Cotton Guard Dragon Dance Mega Altaria.
What is this? Oh, is it Cotton Guard and then Roost to get the health back? Cotton Guard. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense a little bit. It's probably not very common.
Perfect matchup for it.
He said it's a set that no one has ever heard of. That feels like too much setup to me. But I guess it's not the craziest thing in the world if you set up a Cotton Guard and you have Roost, you have 3 Dragon Dances, and then you can kind of sweep that way.
Then in round 4, Style faced off against another veteran tournament player and friend of Blue's, BKC, and the Mega Altaria thing happened again. Suddenly, the player base was...
I mean, this Mega Altaria set seems to be pretty good, to be fair.
How did this keep happening? All eyes were officially on this newbie knocking off experienced players in grand style over and over.
Unless it wasn't a newbie and it was, wait, was it Blue the whole time? Hold on, the evidence is clear. They said they wanted to be under the radar. They come in and they're incredibly good, and they also have knowledge of how the people usually like to play.
Round 5 with Radiant Hero 156 as the opponent saw Styles' most absurd niche strategy take another unstoppable 6-0 with Nasty Plot Mew baton passing into Mega Ampharos against a hapless stall team.
Okay, that's that's insane. Is that Pokgame? Is that Pokgame? Oh my god. She's got her opponents like anyone else in the tour. Nice job, Style. Yeah, I don't think you can blame it all on matchup anymore. It's clear she can play. I love Joey. Dude, Joey has been around in Smogon since like day one as well. He's been around for so long.
The baffled player base started coming up with conspiracy theories, namely that Style was an alternate account of an experienced player.
That's what I was saying.
But these theories were also mostly thrown around in a joking manner. Mostly. What really fed into the hysteria was the fact that Style was a woman, and the player base at the time was pretty much as close as being to 100% male without actually being 100%.
A girl? No, they must be cheating. There's no way a girl could play Pokemon.
As well as having the famous online gamer maturity level that automatically casts suspicion against anyone claiming to be a woman. Though there had been a few players that had pretended to be women before, but there had also been women players as well, rarer though they were on account of the boys club that the internet was for so long, which meant a lot of unwanted attention and even harassment from the especially immature users on the site. Interestingly though, among the few women players was...
It's insane. That's not even like, it's not even changed. It's the same now. Obviously, it's probably not as bad. But if you go into some like gaming spaces and you are literally just a woman, the level of harassment that you get is ridiculous.
Cholena, who was actually the winner of the first ever official Smogon tournament back in 2005, in the Gen 3 days. This, of course, has absolutely nothing to do with Pokemon and shouldn't have any bearing on how someone is treated, and the player base has become much more inclusive in more recent years. But at the time, it did play a major role in ramping up the intensity of watching Style continue her rampage through the tournament. She reigned in the crazy stuff for round 6 and 7, but in the semifinals,
No, absolutely not. Stop it.
Finals against YouTube superstar Thunder Blunder, out came the Pursuit Mega Aerodactyl and the non-choice Hidden Power Electric Keldeo. Not as ludicrous as what had become before, but they and the team they were used on were perfect answers to what Blunder brought. Suddenly, all that was standing between Style and the win was the other finalist, White Queen. And here's where the drama really began. On the surface, Style seemed like a prodigy that has solved the game, like a Pokemon equivalent of a child savant who dominates chess grandmasters. But behind the scenes, some players had begun to have funny feelings about what had been going on. There were a lot of coincidences, and Style didn't seem like who she said she was.
Yeah, Blue wants to step out, not take part in the game. Well, you can if you're actually on an alt account.
This really did seem like an alternate account of some player. But how could anyone pull this off? And just as importantly, who would try to pull something like this off? Some weren't sure who it might be.
Someone that wants to be undercover, perhaps.
But they certainly knew that something was wrong. Then there were others who knew exactly who they thought it was. Blue. This would be blasphemous to say in public, as accusing such a top-tier player and well-liked person of pulling off cheating on
only his shoe live on Twitch if it turns out to be
such
Blue.
An absurd scale seemed ridiculous, and then learning that their friends and others had begun to suspect the same things. So how on earth did all these players start making this connection? Well, Style had become friends with Blue, CBB, and their friend Great...
Not hard to become friends with yourself, am I right, guys?
Dastard, aka Hugo. They claim to have reached out to Style after being impressed by her...
What is going on? I don't like how this is shown. What is that? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Early in the tournament. This is no reason to be suspicious in of itself, but that was just the beginning. Blue was friends, or at least friendly, with most of Style's opponents, and it was against those opponents that Style had used the insanely specific Pokemon that would almost otherwise never work in the exact matchups they needed. Against other opponents, in rounds 1, 6, and 7, Style had used much more safe standard teams. Their playstyle was a more dependable balance, which was exactly like the kind Blue was famous for using. What's more, Blue had been in contact with said friendly opponents at the time of their matchups with Style. Blue had offered help with their teams, as was normal to do with your friends.
Oh, interesting. Yes, no, I'll help you. Just tell me exactly what your set is. Just tell me all your moves. What's your items? Just let me know everything. I'll give you some nice little information.
You'd help them prepare for their tournament games, and they'd do the same with you. It was even normal at the time to talk breezily about the game with your friends as it happened, but not in the asking for advice sense, but just as a form of commentary. So it didn't seem strange that Blue would ask Styles' opponents what moves they were planning on making. But with this information at hand, the theory clicked into place. Blue had not only gotten the teams from Styles' opponents, but knew exactly when in the best of 3 they would be used, allowing the absurdly specific, can't possibly lose counter team to work and not fall flat on its face as it would against anything else. And
But why? What's the purpose? What's the point of this?
to really make sure the win was guaranteed, Blue would even ask the opponent what moves they were making. After all, who would think such a respected authority figure and close friend would be conspiring to create such humiliating losses for them? Oh,
That's actually so messed up. Could you imagine someone's like trying to help you think that someone's trying to help you out and they're like yeah, so what you do now? Like, I think I'm gonna go for I don't know, leech seed. And then you have the perfect counter to leech seed come up. That's tough. Wouldn't feel
remember,
good.
Blue had been responsible for making some of the pairings for the tournament, specifically those for the pairings with Blue Wing, BKC,
They
and
were
Radiant
set
Hero
up
156.
the whole time from the very beginning.
Which had featured the most ludicrously specific counters. BKC had also noticed that in the second game, the one turn he didn't tell Blue what move he would make was the one turn Styles seemed to not know what he was going to do,
Interesting.
regardless of how good
This feels like it's got to be Blue's alt account. Just to relay all of this information in real time feels like it would take so long. I don't know, maybe I'm just a really slow typer.
the move was. Blue Wing also noted not really having talked to Blue much before, which made it all the stranger when Blue reached out to quote-unquote help for the round 3 games against Style. So this conspiracy made sense on paper. Blue was Style. Though theoretically Style could be a real person that Blue was helping cheat, but that thought didn't cross anyone's mind, since Blue would clearly be looking for personal gain and not pulling off the biggest cheating ever for someone else. Either way, there was no evidence. Plus, as suspicion towards Blue grew, there were those that jumped to Blue's defense. Would Blue of all people really cheat? And not just cheat, but cheat in this unprecedented extent.
Yeah, like why? Like what's the purpose? I can only imagine that you do this in order to help out someone that you liked. Like a guy meets a girl, the guy likes the girl, he's like, I want to help out the girl. What if I cheated? What if I cheat to help them?
Well, the answer to that was yes. There were
Oh, well, okay. Never mind, I suppose.
those in the know who are aware of Blue's shady history. Indeed,
Shady? How is he involved in that? He's not actually talking about Shady. But we are talking about using code Patterrz and gamer subs, saving all the merchandise, the cool stuff they have on this. If you're a fan of Code Vein, they got some cool stuff for you right there. They also have a lot of delicious flavors, some cups that you'll enjoy. You can put any liquids in the cups. And also, you can watch me on Spotify now. I don't care. I don't know if anyone cares about this. You can watch me on Spotify now. So it's, if you have Spotify Premium, you can see it for free.
going back to the Smogan Frontier win, one of the Frontier brains was Iconic, who was one of Blue's closest friends, who at the time
Is that just a picture of him? I know it's not, but it'd be really funny if in all of the online screen names that exist, the Blue from Forceless Stone for Imaginary Friends, the Earthworm, the Fashion Style, there's just a guy called Kevin Garrett who just uses a picture of himself, and he's like a 45-year-old man.
gave Blue a free win for the tournament. This was investigated, but suddenly a log of the battle was produced and the controversy was covered up. Of course, even back then, there had been a few who knew that the game had been a fraud. It was even publicly alluded to, albeit cryptically. See Goki's post calling Blue the fraud champ, and then congratulating the actual wins, and then Reach Zero leaving a message on Iconic's wall saying the only reason he hadn't infracted him was because he couldn't give him the kind that never expired. So yes,
What is an infraction? Is this like a forum warning? Is that what he used to use?
some of these players said, I absolutely can believe that Blue would cheat. There was also Blue's lesser known, unproven but strongly suspected involvement alongside several others in a case of impersonation and team stealing in the World Cup of Pokemon Finals the following year. There were similar rumors of Blue having received ghosting help when playing in the Smogan Premier League despite costing a record amount. But simply, it didn't seem that strange that Blue would do this. The community really started fracturing once legendary rabble-rouser and blunder associate CTC made a controversial post that voiced many's concerns. And you didn't have to know, as CTC did it, the secrets of the tournament scene to see the enormous number of coincidences that pointed to Blue. There were two camps. On the first side, you had White Knights, as they were referred to, or those who stepped up to defend Styles' honor. And on the other side, there were those that thought Blue was clearly up to something. And some of the latter camp went too far, not gonna lie. An unofficial task force of Blue doubters nicknamed the Scooby Gang was
the Scooby Gang? What is happening, guys? Dude, oh my god, there's nothing funnier than like really, really, really niche community drama. Because the craziest things will happen and you'll have no idea why. Like, why would you go so far as to cheat on just a very small, in the grand scheme of things, a very small tournament? The accolades you get is like a medal on a forum post. You're not winning millions of dollars. I don't think there's any cash prize for this. And then you form a fucking anti-blue task force called the Scooby Gang, who starts to investigate the rumors.
After the round 4 series that had prompted the first wave of conspiracy theorists that were suddenly looking a lot more credible in retrospect. Finally, Style had defended herself, giving her backstory as having gotten into the game through clubs at her school, Stony Brook University in New York. Now, the Scooby Gang investigated the Facebook page and even contacted the owner looking for someone named Sabrina, which was the name Style had given. This was, of course, a horrifying violation of privacy, but they wound up not finding anyone by that name.
It's so weird. Like, you say you went to this university. I'll investigate this and try to find any information. It's a new lead to track down.
However, this still didn't prove anything. Style and Blue's IP addresses didn't match either. Blue was known to be from California, but that didn't surprise anyone. There was one thing even the most suspicious of Blue couldn't quite figure out, though. What's the motive?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why? Why do this?
That's what many defended Blue with. What does Blue actually gain from this? Those suspicious of Blue were in agreement that the goal was clearly for Style to win the tournament and become a top player. However, it can't be revealed that it was Blue because then the result is nullified. So is this just Blue's new account? A new account doesn't require cheating, but does take some time.
And why would Blue be like, okay, yeah, I'll make an alt account, not tell anyone, enter this tournament that I picked the parents of. Also, I'm a girl.
Time to get established in the tour scene. So was this just a way to speedrun that? Or what if it was revealed to be Blue as some way of proving that they were better than McMegan or all of those old Gen 4 players? Of course, this would seem hollow, seeing as it was accomplished through cheating, but then if it wasn't revealed to be Blue, the perception...
You can't really be seen as like one of the best, one of the GOATs if you win tournaments by asking the other players what move they're gonna make. Like, no one's gonna be like, wow, that guy was really good. He did cheat constantly, but like, he did win, so I guess I'll just forget about the cheating.
Would be that Style was this prodigy who came out of nowhere and schooled everyone to unprecedented degrees. The player Blue most wanted to topple, Earthworm, had made many battlers, even great ones, look silly in his dominant rise to the top.
Yeah, but he wasn't messaging the other players on the side like, hey, buddy, it's Earthworm. What move are you gonna make, buddy?
He seemed like an
what are you gonna do?
Unstoppable robot at times, impervious to mistakes. But even he had never humiliated so many of the game's best to such degrees, over and over, with such ludicrously genial specificities. To be perceived as ahead of even Earthworm seemed like enough reward. The possibilities were enough to make your head spin, but the evidence was missing, until finally it wasn't. Even further behind the scenes,
where's the smoking gun?
The tournament director CL, and funnily enough McMegan, had been conducting an internal investigation into Style. It was long and complex, but here's the gist. Someone anonymous claimed to be an
anonymous tip? Oh my god, this is so serious.
Pokemon player and friend of Style in real life, being willing to physically meet people to prove it. This anonymous friend claimed to have helped Style in the early rounds of the tournament and even shared the account with her. This wasn't allowed, but was minor in the grand scheme of things. McMegan and CL thus asked for more information about Style, and long story short, both Style and her friend mentioned they had a Google document which they used to prepare for her games. Seeing as this document could potentially clear Styles' name, McMegan asked for and received full access to it. The doc seemed to have useful information, but McMegan checked the revisions tab, and the oldest revision was from March 16th, aka the 5th round of the tournament, not the very beginning of the tournament, which had been in January. This document thus proved nothing.
That's a long tournament. Can I just say, like, that's a 2-month-long tournament? Good lord, that's a long time.
And it was only after this discovery that McMegan was then told that the information in this document had actually been moved there from an original older one, whose revision timestamps, which cannot be manually tricked, were supposed to go back to the beginning of the tournament. McMegan asked for access to this document, but was refused on account of it containing details of Style and her friends' personal lives. This was accepted as a
What kind of Google Doc is this? I'm sorry, I've never heard of any group of friends sharing a Google Doc where they talk about, like, yeah, let's talk about Pokemon strategies. Also, let's talk about boys or girls. Let's talk about freaking my bitch teacher or my stupid ex. Like, what kind of personal details could possibly be in them? They're using it as like an instant messaging service. They're gonna go in there, type a new Google document sheet. It's like, hey, how are you? It's like a pen pal type of situation. They tell you all about what's going on in the week.
Legitimate reason, but even beyond this, there were more issues. None of the information Style and her friend provided actually proved they were legitimate. They actually led to more suspicious coincidences coming to light. McMegan asked Style for paste bins of all her teams, and the paste bin of her round 1 teams was linked to another paste bin, which happens when you use the clone this paste feature. What was in the paste bin her round 1 teams had linked to? Well, the team that CBB used against her in the Hidden Power Fire Manaphy game, of course. There was also a link between Style and another publicly unnamed player in the form of Hostmask on Internet Relay Chat, or IRC, the default chat program in the days before Discord.
What the hell is this? Fedora? XChat. Good lords. I've never even seen this before. Were people not using Skype before? This Discord? Goodness me, look at this. Looks like it's from the 80s.
Technicalities aside, it's not the kind of thing you can fake by changing your IP. With all these incredibly suspicious coincidences, the active withholding of the crucial evidence in the previously mentioned Google Doc that could have potentially validated the matches having been played without cheating was thus considered jurisdiction for disqualification from the tournament. Style was DQ'd from the finals. A bracket recreation was done instead, leading all Style's opponents to play each other. In the end, the winner was White Queen, the one player who hadn't played Style. Some players thought it was strange how accepting Style was of the decision. After all, if you were a legitimate player and were DQ'd under such circumstances, it would be the mother of all meltdowns. But shortly afterwards, Blue came forward and admitted to helping Style cheat. And shortly after that, they admitted Blue was in fact Style.
Whoa, they did! Oh, the big reveal! Oh no!
More evidence previously kept.
What is this? That's true. Everything in that paste is candid except for the section regarding Style, the gender, and hating Blue persona are the most important aspects of my motives. I initially wrote up a huge post about the why and how behind Style. After speaking with some people, though, I think it's best that I don't make all the details fully public. I'll show you the full details of the people I wronged. Oh my
Secret
god.
by McMegan and CL eventually came to light. The new Google Doc didn't have any copy and paste.
What a weird thing to do. What a strange, weird thing to do.
But was instead a complete.
Like, who was the anonymous tip then? Like, why did these sit there and made a cool, full Google Doc? It was just totally fake?
Forgery, and the old doc had never existed. Though there were also attempts made to fake its existence, CL also managed to gain access to the round 5 teams, namely the nasty pass to Mega Ampharos, which induced EV spreads that were utterly preposterous. The Mega Ampharos had agility, and yet not enough speed EVs to outrun something as basic as base 100 speed Pokemon like the Mega Charizards. Instead, it was just fast enough to naturally outspeed everything on Radiant Heroes team except Cresselia,
Ah, okay.
which it couldn't outrun unboosted anyway. While it seems strange for an innocent person to lie and forge evidence, and to use such an absurd team right down to the EV spread, there was still no clear link to Blue. But remember that IRC hostmark? Yep, the user that shared it with Style was in fact Blue.
That's
However,
insane.
the confession
Why do this?
was the spotlight, because the paste bins Blue posted finally revealed the motivations behind the whole affair. Long story short, everyone had assumed Blue was a man, as was the default in those days.
Oh, wait, Blue. Oh, Blue was a woman the whole
But
time.
Blue now revealed that she was a woman.
Oh, wow. All right, well, I guess.
She had also
That makes
become
sense.
overwhelmed with the pressure that came with being such a top player, with such high expectations from herself and everyone else. In an attempt to get away from that pressure, as well as being able to play with her true female identity, she created Style in hopes of being able to retire the Blue name and the baggage that came with it. Why the cheating? Well, because it would have led Style to being accepted in the tournament scene. Style and Blue were both permanently banned. For the
Well, I don't know. See, I don't understand that. The cheating thing doesn't make any sense. If that's really the objective, is to retire this, make a new account and have that be like your new like main account, your new proper account, then you don't need to cheat in order to like. If you just play normally, if you're supposedly one of the greats, one of the GOAT players, then you should just play normally. And even if you don't win initially, you will still probably do quite well if you are actually a really good player. I don't know. It's just so
long
weird to me.
list of offenses committed that include match fixing, abuse of admin privileges, offering assistance under false pretenses, illegally obtaining information on the moves that their opponent was going to make, and entering with an alternate account.
You just be like, hey guys, I'm gonna retire this account, I'm gonna start a new one, just feel like a fresh start. Also, by the way, I am a girl, just so it doesn't really matter that much, but just so you're aware. You could also just correct people, be like, all the people that just said he, be like, hey, you're actually wrong on that. That might get you some unwanted attention or abuse. That probably would happen, especially back in the day, like 15 years ago-ish, however long it was, or like 10, 11 years ago. You probably get some unwanted attention that way. It probably wouldn't result in the best messages being thrown at you, talking about 2015 times. But if the objective anyway was to move over to the style account where you are a woman anyway, you could have just been like, hey, Blue's not a guy, just so you're aware.
There is much to be seen in the story of style. The immense pressure of the tournament scene, exacerbated by the immense hostility and immaturity of the boys' club at the time, that made one of the most prominent players even hide their gender for over half a decade. Of course, there were some that were suspicious of even.
Yeah, I can imagine it is pretty difficult. Obviously, I've never been through that, so I don't know for sure how it would have been for a woman, especially in like a very niche, small area of the Pokemon scene back then. I bet there was some absolutely terrible things being said then.
Knowing Blue's incredibly manipulative nature, especially since after the reveal, there was an outpouring of sympathy and even.
But the lying and cheating is crazy. It's just the lying and cheating just doesn't make sense to me. Was Blue just gonna be like executed, like taken out the back Lenny style? Look at the rabbits. What was gonna happen to Blue?
Some calls for forgiveness. Those who had to play style though were less big-hearted, as they had been so thoroughly deceived. And
yeah, because I'd be so pissed off if someone's messaging like, hey, let me help you with your tournament team. What moves are you going to make, by the way? And they're literally using that to cheat against you and lying to your face. Of course, I don't think you can forgive that. That's blatantly cheating that. But still, there is a bit of sympathy you can grant to someone that's like, I don't feel like I can be my true self. But human beings are complex. They have layers and different levels. You can despise the cheating and rail against that while being like, oh, well, I understand there's some difficulties in other parts of the situation.
Have been subjected to abject humiliation on the big stage in front of their community and peers. There's cheating, and then there's this. In a way, it's the ultimate mystery, because
yeah, it absolutely sucks. I mean, imagine and the amount of time you'd spend preparing for a tournament as well. That's actually annoyed me so much. The amount of time you'd spend, because I've done draft league in the past, and the amount of time I'd spend preparing for a draft league battle. If I knew that someone was doing that to me, like they were trying to help me out, but they're also cheating and using that information to beat me, even though I'd spent so long, and it would be so deflating to lose in such a horrible way. Oh my god, I don't know if I could forgive them.
There's no way of knowing for sure. What we can focus on is simply what we do know for sure, and the rest is to decide for ourselves.
Well, it looks like they girl bossed a little bit too close to the sun. Yeah, I mean, she succeeded in being known. She succeeded in being remembered. Not in a good way, but, they are remembered. Like, you should remember to subscribe if you haven't already. You should subscribe if you haven't already. Just thrown out there.